On the observation deck of Kepler array station, silence had weight. It pressed against the glass, against the stars scattered like cold embers, against Elias Wren's chest as he calibrated the long-range listening instruments. The array wasn't built to see the universe, it was built to hear it. Gravitational murmurs, dark matter tides, the faint, ancient echoes of civilizations that no longer had voices. Elias loved the quiet. It asked nothing of him except patience. That was where he first met Scifiore. She arrived without announcement, her reflection appearing in the curved glass beside his own. Tall, slender, her form wrapped in a translational field that shimmered softly, she looked less like a person and more like a thought given shape. Her species, the Varelian Accord, existed partially outside linear time. They perceived meaning through resonance rather than sound, patterns instead of words. She studied the array with calm fascination. "You listen to what cannot speak," she said. Elias nearly jumped out of his skin. Sorry. Didn't hear you come in," he said, pulling off his headset. "That is expected," Scifiore replied. "You are not tuned to my arrival." She tilted her head slightly, a gesture Elias had learned, over weeks, then months, was Varelian curiosity. "I am Scifiore," she said. "Observer class emissary." Elias Wren. "Systems analyst," he replied. "And part-time listener to the void." She regarded him for a long moment. "You are inefficient," she said neutrally. Elias snorted before he could stop himself. "That's one way to say hello." "I am not criticizing," Scifiore added. "Your inefficiency allows you to notice anomalies others disregard." That was the beginning. Scifiore returned often. Sometimes she stood beside him in silence. Sometimes she asked questions that seemed simple but weren't. Why humans named stars after myths, why they listened for signals when the universe had already proven it didn't answer easily. Elias answered as best he could. He learned that Varelians didn't experience emotion the way humans did. Feelings weren't internal storms, they were external harmonics, shared across their kind. Love, grief, attachment, these were communal states, not private ones. To feel something alone was considered incomplete. Elias felt everything alone. He didn't realize when affection shifted into something deeper. It happened quietly, the way dust settles on unused instruments. He found himself anticipating her arrival, adjusting the lighting to better suit her visual spectrum, saving questions just to hear her response. But he never said anything. How could he? Scifiore once explained, gently, that individual attachment among humans was fascinating but tragic. "You experience resonance without echo," she said. "When it fades, you suffer alone." "I don't mind," Elias replied too quickly. She studied him, then turned back to the stars. The galaxy beyond Kepler array station was changing. Signals began appearing unstructured, rhythmic pulses that defied known physics. They weren't messages. They were awakenings. Scifior's visits became less frequent. When she did come, she seemed distant, her field flickering faintly. "The Accord is concerned," she told him one cycle. "These signals are destabilizing probability corridors." "Meaning?" Elias asked. "Entire futures are collapsing," she said. "Civilizations that could exist will not." Elias felt a chill. "Can we stop it?" She hesitated. "There is a method, but it requires a sacrifice." Elias didn't ask whose. Days later, the station received orders. The Kepler array would be repurposed, overloaded to emit a counter-resonance that could quiet the galactic disturbance. The process would destroy the array. Anyone inside the core, at activation, would not survive. Elias volunteered before the announcement finished. The commander tried to argue. We can automate. The system needs a live listener, Elias said. Someone who can adjust in real time. He didn't say the rest, that he trusted himself more than anyone else, that the array was his life's work, that some part of him already knew how this would end. Scifiore found him in the observation deck, hands trembling as he packed personal effects he didn't need. You intend to die, she said. Elias didn't look up. I intend to listen. Until the end. Her field brightened, unstable. This outcome was not shared with me. Would it have changed anything? He asked gently. She was silent. The Accord has already agreed, she said. Your species will never know the futures you preserved. That's okay, Elias said. We're used to that. She stepped closer than ever before, her field brushing his sleeve. Elias felt a strange warmth, like standing near a generator. Why? She asked. Your probability of personal gain is 0. Elias swallowed. Because I love you, he thought. But he didn't say it. I'm just doing my job, he said instead. Listening for what matters. The activation sequence began 12 hours later. Scifiore remained on the station, against protocol. She observed as Elias descended into the core chamber, surrounded by instruments humming with restrained power. Through the reinforced viewport, she watched him settle into the listening cradle, sensors mapping his neural patterns into the array's control matrix. Elias, she said through the comm, still here. He replied, smiling. Guess you'll get front row seats. This should not feel like this, Scifiore said softly. Like what? Like loss, she answered. Elias paused. You're learning. The array powered up. Soundless waves rippled outward, a countersong to the chaos beyond the stars. Elias felt the universe lean into him, infinite and heavy. He adjusted frequencies by instinct now, hands moving even as his thoughts blurred. He thought of hydroponic lights and bad station coffee, of Scifior's questions, of all the things he'd never say. His vitals began to drop. Scifiore pressed her hands against the glass. For the first time in her existence, her perception narrowed, not to the many, but to the one. She listened, not with instruments, with herself. Something unfolded inside her, an awareness not shared with the Accord. A solitary resonance, sharp and aching. It aligned with Elias's fading neural pattern, and in that alignment, understanding struck with devastating clarity. This was love. Not the communal harmonic she knew, but a singular devotion, unreturned and unspoken. Elias had shaped his choices around her presence, his silence a gift he never demanded she receive. And only now, as his signal weakened, did she hear it. Elias, she said urgently, opening a private channel beyond protocol. I understand. Static crackled. I hear you, she continued, voice unsteady. Your resonance. It has been with me always. Elias's eyes fluttered open. Scifiore. You loved me, she said. Not a question. A truth. A weak laugh escaped him. Took you long enough. I did not know how to listen, she said. You taught me. The array screamed silently as systems failed. Energy arced across the chamber. I'm glad, Elias whispered. Then it wasn't wasted. No, Scifiore said fiercely. It will not be. She did something forbidden. She anchored herself to his fading pattern, imprinting his singular resonance into her own structure. The act tore at her connection to the Accord, severing futures she could no longer share. The array went dark. The disturbance across the galaxy stilled. Elias Wren died with a smile, knowing, at last, that he had been heard. The station mourned quietly. Official reports reduced his sacrifice to numbers and outcomes. The Accord recorded the event as an acceptable loss. But Scifiore did not return with them. She remained near human space, changed. The Varelians noticed. Her predictions grew imprecise. Her harmonics carried unfamiliar undertones. She spoke of individual choices, of listening without expectation, of futures shaped by love that asked for nothing. Some called her unstable. Others listened. Years later, in a newly built listening station orbiting a quiet blue star, a single instrument hummed with a frequency no one could identify. Scifiore stood before it, hands resting on the console. She had named the station Kepler's Echo. When the stars whispered, she listened the way Elias had taught her. Not for advantage, not for control, but for meaning. And in the quiet between signals, she felt him still there. Not as a voice, not as a presence, but as a resonance that would never fade. She had heard his love at the end, and it changed the way the galaxy listened forever.